Hello everybody, welcome to Politics Enhanced, and thank you all so much for clicking on today's video. And today we're going to talk about how Democrats are in serious electoral trouble in the future beyond 2024, and we're going to explain why that is, folks. So without further ado, I'm going to show you guys the map, but before I do, here is the 2024 presidential election map. Everybody has seen it. We all know that Donald Trump won. He won through flipping the Rust Belt trio states. But what if I told you that in the future, beyond the year 2030, Republicans might not even need the swing states in the Rust Belt, also known as the Rust Belt trio? They might not even need those states to win the election. Here's why. So if you look at 2030, the apportionment forecast shows that a lot of Republican states are going to be growing exponentially over the next few years. And this is only 2030. That doesn't even predict 2040 or 50 and so on and so forth. So we're looking at the map right now, and we can see California and New York are losing a lot of electoral votes. So is Illinois. The states that are growing, Texas, Florida, Arizona, Georgia, all Republican strongholds are only growing in terms of electoral votes. And what does this mean exactly for the future of the Electoral College and presidential elections? Well, in my opinion, I think it means that Republicans could be locked in for many years in the future. And the reason why I say this is, if you look at the current map and you add on or subtract the electoral votes, so you make it how it would be in the future, we can see that Republicans are already sitting at 230 safe electoral votes, assuming in the future, all the states that Trump won by a safe margin will also be won by future Republicans in the same way. Now, I'm not going to fill in margins in this map because this is not a prediction, but this is hypothetical. So if we fill in all the 2024 states that voted for Donald Trump, we can see very quickly that Republicans don't need the Rust Belt in order to win. They just need to carry the Sun Belt states, and they're at 282 electoral votes already. But if you add Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, Republicans are sitting at 324 electoral votes, which is the exact same 2024 map that we saw this year, except there's 12 additional electoral votes for the Republicans. That is a lot. Those extra 12 electoral votes make the election so much easier for Republicans to win. Because let's say you have a bad night and Pennsylvania doesn't go your way, Michigan doesn't go your way, Wisconsin doesn't go your way, and even Arizona, you would still win the election. All you need is Nevada, Georgia, and North Carolina. That's it. Let's say in a hypothetical situation that it's election night in 2032 and you don't do so good in Georgia and North Carolina and Arizona and Nevada. Let's say the Sun Belt really doesn't work out for the Republicans in future cycles, which I don't think is going to happen, by the way, but we're just being hypothetical here. You could still win the election just through the Rust Belt. And I want to talk about how Democrats are really in just some serious trouble, folks, because the truth is the conservative states are only going to become more Republican. They're only growing in population. And the people who are coming to these states are Republican leaning. Texas shifted Republican, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Nevada. All of these states are gaining electoral votes, but they're also gaining Republican voters. So this automatically puts Republicans at a higher threshold for Electoral College votes, and it makes it easier for them to win elections. Now, what does this mean for Democrats? Well, I think Democrats are going to have to focus their resources more so on conservative-leaning states. And what this means is that the Democrat Party is going to have to become more conservative in order to appeal to these voters in the Electoral College. So if that's the case, then Democrats have a lot of offensive plays to make because they're going to have to defend the Rust Belt, but they're also going to have to go after states like Georgia, Texas, Arizona. And these states have trended so Republican that the Democrats, at least the current Democrat Party, I don't think is favored to win in these states at all. So it begs the question, if the Democrats decide to go on offense and they pull funding from the Rust Belt, which has been trending Republican, and let's say they go after the Sun Belt, they go after Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina, the Republicans still win through the Rust Belt. And it's just the opposite. If the Republicans do good in the Sun Belt, but the Democrats put all their money in the Rust Belt, well, the Republicans still win. And even if they take Arizona, you still win in the Electoral College. Even if they take Georgia, the Republicans can win through just Pennsylvania and Nevada and still pull off 271 electoral votes. And just to compare how favorable the future maps will be for Republicans, I want to show you all the current 2024, 2028 map, whatever you want to call it. And again, I'm not going to fill in margins, but I'm just going to show you guys how favorable this map is to Republicans. So we're going to start off with the current 2024 election map that we saw this year with Donald Trump. And he's sitting comfortably at 312 electoral votes. However, let's say, hypothetically, you take away the Rust Belt, you're at 268 electoral votes, making it impossible to win. Even if you won Nebraska's 2nd congressional district, which would be a challenge, it still would be very hard because then the election would go to the House of Representatives and they would decide who the next president would be. But we don't want to go down that path because that isn't a path that is favorable to Republicans. You're dealing with the swamp in DC. So in our current timeline, you absolutely need one of the Rust Belt trio states in order to win the Electoral College outright. So even if you lose Arizona and Georgia, you would need all of the Rust Belt states to vote in your favor. And you wouldn't be able to pull through with just Pennsylvania and Nevada, because if you lose Georgia, you would need to find 10 additional electoral votes, which you could find through Wisconsin in our current timeline for 2028. But it's much more of a challenge for Republicans electorally versus in 2030 and beyond, it's much easier. You just win Pennsylvania and Nevada, and you've got those 12 additional electoral votes in the Republican states, and you're sitting at 270 electoral votes, meaning theoretically, Republicans could only campaign in Pennsylvania and Nevada, which, by the way, Nevada is very favorable to Republicans now, and you could win the election. That's just the bare minimum. It becomes so much easier as compared to now, where you need an additional state in the Rust Belt or Georgia or Arizona to win the election outright. So Republicans are in a very good position, and Democrats are going to have to figure out their game. They're going to have to become more conservative in order to appeal to these more conservative states. And I'm sure that if they go down south, they're going to pull out funding from up north or vice versa. And that's just going to cause Republicans to win because they don't need the Rust Belt or the Sun Belt, but they need one of the two. Versus now, Republicans need the Sun Belt and they also need one of the Rust Belt trio states. So I thought I'd make this video just to talk about a subject that I don't see a lot of people talking about, but Republicans are in a very favorable position to win many future elections moving on. And it's going to be interesting to see. Now, obviously, it's not really possible to determine how states will trend. Arizona and Georgia could shift Republican, but again, you could lose the Rust Belt trio, or you could see, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania go Republican, and then Republicans don't do so good in Arizona, Georgia, or North Carolina, and you could still see the Republicans win the election. So thank you all for listening. I appreciate you guys tuning in my video. Until next time, Politics Enhanced out.